Hello. This video is to show a working example of the Run Web Service workflow task. It's a support on the blog post that you see on screen now, and which I will publish today. Basically, in this blog post, I explain what the Run Web Service workflow task is, how it works. I give some examples, and I explain a specific case where I send information from one core bus to another. And this video is kind of just to show that that actually working. So I have two core bus installs here. One, I changed the name up here on the right, on the left. One is the destination system, so that we can actually see a difference when I go from one core bus to the other. In this destination system, I have 22 products, and here I have the origin system, which is the one that's going to be sending the products. I have 5,056. And this one is going to be able to detect when I create a new product and send it to the other system. I created this workflow, which is only on the first save. So it's a create. When a product is created, I will actually do these 4 steps, which is get challenge, log in to the other core bus. This is actually a login, because in core bus web service happy, which is what we're going to be using to synchronize both systems, logging is a 2-step process, so I have 2 steps. Then we have the actual create call, and we have a logout. Let's look at these maps. I mean, if we go into these tasks, they are basically empty. They just select the map, because the map is the one that has all of the details of the task to be done. There's so many options and so many little different tweaks that we decided to do a map instead of doing a complex UI, which we will do eventually, but in the meantime we can actually work and get things done using the XML. The XML is divided in 3 parts. This is all explained on the blog post, so I'm not going to get, and on the wiki also, so I'm not going to get into details. Just a high level look. Here I have the URL of the destination system. I say that I'm going to do a challenge. I have here the parameters for that, the parameters of the call actually. Then I have the parameters that the web service needs, which is what operation are we doing and what username. Actually, we're getting a challenge for this user, and I get a token back, and I save that in the context of the workflow. That means that when this get challenge reads that map, calls the other system, it will get back a token and set it in the context, so that this next step, the login, can actually read it from there and use it to do whatever it needs to do. If we look at the login map, it's the header is very similar. We just set up the actual network call to the other system. Parameters, we're going to do a login with the admin user, and the access key, which is the interesting part here, is an MD5 of the token that we got from the challenge and the access key that this user has in the other system. So here I'm using the workflow system, the workflow expression syntax. We have a hash that does an MD5. We get from the context. We use this get from context function, workflow expression function, to get the context from the challenge call that we had before, and we concatenate that and do the MD5. Okay, this is just a login step in the web service, nothing else. This gives us back the session name that we can use to validate the login on all the subsequent operations, and we save that in the session ID, so that the next step, we set that in the context so that the next step can actually use it. The next step is a product create, as you can see here, very similar also. All of these maps are available on the blog post, so you can actually download them and see them, especially the first 2, which are going to be identical in almost all of the connections that you do, if you connect to another core bus, obviously. Here I do the same thing as before. I do the network call, and then I do an operation create. The session name I get from the context, which is from the login. Element type, what am I going to create? I'm going to create a product record, and here I'm actually creating the JSON string that I need to send in the web service call. Okay, this is a little complicated, a little complex here, because it would be nice to have some way to create this dynamically from a list of fields or something. I think we have something. We have an explode, and we have some JSON encode workflow functions that could be useful for that, but I didn't actually get into it. I just created the JSON by concatenating and creating the string that I need. Here I'm sending the product name. Here I'm actually reading. I mean, this is a string, as you can see, it's quoted. This is the first part, the index of the JSON string. But here I'm actually using the product name that the user types in to the record when it's created, just the same as the serial number. And here I'm getting the current user ID as the assigned user. These are basically the product name and the assigned user are the mandatory fields, and the serial number I'm sending just to send in another field. And this is kind of incorrect, because here I'm setting the current user in the origin system, and I'm expecting that user to be available and exist in the destination system, which is not always going to be true. I mean, in this case I know it is, because both core buses are basically the same install, they're test installs, and the users exist, and I can kind of just obviate that. But if you do this in reality, you're probably going to have two different users in both core buses, and you're going to have to be able to do this somehow, or make sure that you hard code the user that you have in the other system or something, which is similar to what I did here. I mean, this access key is actually the access key that this user has in the other system, and I'm hard coding it here. So you could hard code the ID also there if you know that you're always going to be using the same user. Anyway, this has a lot of little intricacies, because actually when you get into details, it always gets a little bit more complicated. But I'm just going to obviate all that. Now, the next important step here is that when this product is created in the other system, I save the ID in the description field. Okay, that's this response here. I save it. Why do I save it? Because I'm going to need that ID to be able to update the product when it changes. When I'm going to create another workflow when the product changes, I'm going to use the ID that I saved when it was created to be able to update the field in the other system. The correct thing to do here would have been to create a new field, I don't know, external code, or the other system code or something like that, and save the value there. I mean, I just put it in the description field because I had that one, and it just kind of, I'm just testing it and the like. Okay, but this correct thing to do would be to save that ID in a field that makes sense. Okay, the last one is a logout. I'm not even going to discuss that one because it's just the same as all the other ones. Okay, this means that if I come over here to my product module and I create send to core boss product with a serial number of 1111, for example, all of the other fields are irrelevant because I'm not sending them, so I'm just going to save. And if all went well, here in the description I have the ID of this product in the other system, 44721. That means that if I come over here to the destination system and reload this, I go to 23. I have one product more, which is actually this send to core boss, which has a serial number of 111 and an ID of 44721. So basically, with this workflow here, I have actually sent the product created in one core boss to the other core boss without programming anything more than the XML itself. Really, really powerful and nice. Let's create the update. I didn't do that one. I don't have that one yet because I wanted to do it together just so you can see how simple, I guess, it is. Update product. Okay, here I'm going to do this every time the record is modified, not saved, modified, because the create is already separated on another workflow. Okay, every time the record is saved, it includes the create, which I'm already doing elsewhere, so I don't want to do that. I want to do it just when we modify the product. Okay, so how do I do this? I do the run web service, and we do a login, and I select the login, and I save, because all of the logic is already done. Okay, I made a mistake there because core boss web service is a two-step process, and I have to do the challenge first. So I select the challenge and I move this one up because I have to do the challenge first. Challenge, and then we log in. Now I have the session ID, and I can create another web service task, which is update, which does the product sync update. We'll have a look at that one real quick if you want, and then I log out. So basically I just wanted to show you how the creation would look like, and as you can see, basically it's really just clicking around. All of the hard work is done in the maps. Challenge, login, update, and logout. If we have a quick look at the product update, we will see that it's basically the same. The header with the network call, operation revise. I'm using a revise instead of an update. It's the same. Session name, I get the session ID just like before, and the revise has element type, which is product, and the element update that I want. Here I get the ID of the record in the other system, which I saved in the description field, and I'm updating the serial number. That's it. I'm not even saving the response or anything. Just update the serial number, and we're done. So that means that if I did this correctly, I should be able to come here and change this to whatever and reload in the destination system to get those tools over here. So it's basically that kind of setup that you need. You can call any system, any web service that you need. I mean, not just Coreboss to Coreboss. You can do any other external system that needs synchronization or updating or whatever. It's a really powerful workflow task in a really powerful workflow system and application. I hope that helps you with your implementations. Thanks for watching.